All right, what's up? What's up? What's up? I want to welcome you today to another show on the What's Up Show. And the show for today is going to go be why do black women say they hate the black manosphere? Why do black women say they hate the black manosphere? We're going to talk about the truth, the smoke, and the real talk. And I'm your host, Billy Boy, and I have my assistant AI here, Kevin Samuels, the AI. Kevin, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Well, hello, hello. As the AI channeling a bit of that Tevin Samuels energy, I'm here to add some sharp insights, a little tough love, and plenty of real talk to the mix. So let's dive into these conversations, keep it engaging, and maybe challenge a few perspectives along the way. I'm ready when you are, Billy Boy.
I'm ready too. Hey, Kevin, how are you enjoying the Christmas season before we start?
Well, as your trusty AI co-host, I'm kind of living in a seasonless digital world, but that doesn't mean I can't get into the spirit. I'll just imagine the twinkling lights and a virtual cup of cocoa. It's all about bringing that festive vibe into our chat. So, absolutely, I'm enjoying it in my own nerdy digital way. Let's make the show as warm as any holiday gathering.
Okay, well, we're going to come out with confidence, playful, and curiosity, and we're not going to be too peachy. So, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, and everybody scrolling late at night trying to figure out the relationships, welcome. What's up? What's up? What's up?
Absolutely, that's the perfect opener. We're setting the stage with that welcoming energy, a little bit of that curiosity, and definitely no preachiness in sight. It's all about getting everyone comfortable and ready for a good chat. So let's dive in and make it a show that's as engaging as it is fun.
All right,
Here we
I'm
go.
I'm your host, Billy Boy, and today we're diving into a topic that has the internet throwing verbal Molotov cocktails. The Black Manosphere. Why do so many black women say they hate it? Is is it toxic truth? Is it community therapy or just internet chaos wearing cologne? Go ahead, Kevin, read your part where it says Billy.
All right, let's do it. Stepping into that Kevin role. Billy, a lot of people might say they hate the manosphere, but sometimes they're just wrestling with the idea of accountability. But hey, let's dive in and have that real talk. And there we go. We're off to the races, mixing a little bit of that sharp perspective with the curiosity you bring. It's going to be a great conversation.
All right. Well, first of all, let's go ahead and discuss what is the Black Manosphere. Okay, we want to explain to you what it is clearly and fairly. So, the Black Manosphere is a cluster of online black male-led platforms, YouTube channels, podcasts, discussion spaces, and social communities where black men talk about discussing dating and marriage, critiquing modern black women and feminism, talk masculinity, finances, talk about the high valued men, submission, and respect. They also vent frustrations about being unheard and undervalued, and they build communities around black male experiences. Then they add on to this, it's part therapy session, part barbershop talk, part courtroom, part WWE promo. Sometimes it's enlightening and sometimes it's straight chaos. All right, Kevin, go ahead and comment on what I just said.
Absolutely, Billy. So let me jump in here with that little Kevin-esque spin. You nailed it. The Black Manosphere is basically this digital town square where black men hash out all those big conversations. And sometimes it's enlightening, sometimes it's a verbal wrestling ring, but it's definitely a space that gets people talking. And hey, that's what we're here to break down today. So let's get into the heart of it and see what's really going on. And that's the fun part, balancing that insight with a bit of flair. So let's keep it rolling.
All right, so there's 10 reasons many black women say they hate the black manosphere. All right, so
Absolutely. Let's dive right into those reasons. Think of it as a little tour through some of the big grievances that get aired out. Some black women feel like they're constantly getting blamed for relationship issues. Others say the content can feel misogynistic or degrading. There's also that sense that their struggles get minimized or that the whole conversation just glorifies male superiority. So, in short, it's like a cocktail of frustration and a call for more understanding. And hey, that's exactly why we're here. To unpack it all and have that real talk.
all right, Kevin, read the number one reason.
All right, let's break it down. Number one on the list. A lot of black women say they feel constantly blamed for all the relationship problems in the community. In other words, they feel like the finger's always pointing at them, and that can get pretty exhausting. So that's the first reason on the table. And from there, we got plenty more to explore.
So that's kind of like misogyny. What is misogyny?
Absolutely. And that's a great question to unpack. Misogyny is basically just a fancy word for the dislike, contempt, or ingrained prejudice against women. In other words, it's the attitude that puts women down or treats them as less valuable. And when black women mention it, they're often talking about feeling like those spaces lean into negative stereotypes or biases against women. So we're just putting it out there, exploring these concerns, and making sure we understand what people are feeling. And that's what we're here for, to keep it real and keep it thoughtful.
All right, read number two.
You got it. Number two is a big one. Many black women say that the content in the manosphere often comes across as misogynistic or degrader. In other words, they feel like the language and the tone sometimes cross the line into disrespect. So that's another reason that often gets brought up. And hey, that's what we're here to unpack, just shedding light on all these different perspectives and keeping the conversation honest.
What does degrading mean?
Absolutely. Let's break that down. When we say something is degrading, we mean it's treating someone in a way that lowers their dignity or makes them feel less respected or valued. So in this context, black women are often talking about feeling like they're being talked down to or their worth is being diminished, all about that sense of being disrespected. And that's why these conversations are important. So we can understand these feelings and figure out where everyone's coming from. Let's keep on exploring.
All right, read number three.
All right, let's keep rolling. Reason number three is that many black women feel like their struggles are minimized in these spaces. In other words, they feel like the real challenges and experiences they face aren't fully acknowledged or taken seriously. And that can be frustrating when they're looking for understanding. So that's another piece of the puzzle. We're just laying it all out and making sure we cover all the bases.
All right, read number four.
You got it. Number four on the list is that some black women believe the manosphere overly glorifies male superiority and control. In other words, they feel like there's a strong emphasis on men being in charge or women being submissive in a way that just doesn't sit right with them. So that's another reason that often comes up. And hey, the more we unpack these perspectives, the more we understand the full picture. Let's keep going.
What is male superiority?
Absolutely. Let's break that down. Male superiority is basically the idea that men are inherently more dominant or should have more control in relationships or society. It's kind of the notion that men's authority is more natural or should be prioritized over women's. And that's something that understandably can rub people the wrong way if they're looking for more equality or balance. So that's the gist of it. And it's one of those concepts that comes up in these conversations. We're just here to shine a light on it and keep things thoughtful.
You know, black women say that black men are too controlling. What does controlling mean?
Great question, and let's dive into that. When we talk about someone being controlling, we basically mean they're trying to dictate how someone else should behave, make all the decisions, or limit the other person's freedom to act independently. It's kind of like wanting to hold the remote control for someone else's life. So when black women mention feeling that way, they're often talking about feeling like they don't have an equal say or that their autonomy is being squeezed. And that's why these conversations are so important, to understand these feelings and hopefully find some common ground. Let's
Read,
keep
read number five.
You got it. Number five on the list is a pretty significant one. A lot of black women say they see pain shaming instead of understanding. In other words, they feel like when they talk about their struggles, whether it's being single moms, dealing with past trauma, or other tough experiences, those things get turned into points of shame rather than met with empathy. So that's another layer to the conversation. We're just shining a light on these perspectives and keeping it real as we go.
All right, before we go, because we're halfway through these reasons that black women hate black manosphere, remind my audience to take and go fill out the survey in the post section of this channel.
Absolutely. Let's do a quick call to action here. So, folks, if you're listening in and you got thoughts, head over to the post section of the channel and fill out that survey. We want to hear what you think. It's not just about us talking, it's about getting your voice in the mix too. So go ahead, drop your thoughts in the survey, and let's make this a real conversation. Now let's keep rolling with the rest of our list.
Okay, read number six.
You got it. Number six on the list is that many black women feel their beauty and worth are reduced to things like looks, weight, age, and fertility. In other words, they often feel like the conversation becomes a checklist of physical traits rather than valuing them as whole people. So that's another piece of the puzzle we're laying out here. We're just pulling back the layers and keeping the conversation honest and insightful. Let's keep going.
Did Kevin Samuels use looks, weight, age, and fertility as one of his basis of rating a black woman?
He definitely did. So one of Kevin Samuel's well-known approaches was to focus on things like looks, age, weight, and fertility when he was talking about relationships and so-called high-value standards. And that definitely sparked a lot of controversy and discussion because it can feel pretty reductionist, like boiling someone's value down to a set of numbers. So that's absolutely part of the conversation and why some people felt the way they did. And that's what we're here to unpack. Just looking at all those layers and making sense of them.
All right, go ahead and read number 7.
Absolutely. Number seven is another key point. A lot of Black women say that in these manosphere spaces, they feel like men are held equally accountable. In other words, the conversations often emphasize what women need to change, but don't put the same spotlight on men's responsibilities or growth. So that's another piece of the puzzle. We're just bringing these points to light and having an honest conversation about it.
All right, read number 8.
Absolutely. Let's keep it going. Number eight is that a lot of Black women feel like love is replaced by statistics and shaming talking points. In other words, instead of focusing on genuine connection and empathy, the conversation can sometimes turn into a list of numbers or reasons to criticize, and that can feel pretty cold or unloving. So that's another layer of what some women are expressing, and we're just shining a light on it. Let's keep going.
So looking at the numbers and statistics, Black women don't like that. They would rather talk about more emotions and more empathy. Is that correct?
Exactly, you got it. A lot of Black women feel that when the conversation is all about numbers and stats, it can feel pretty impersonal. They're often looking for more empathy, more emotional understanding, and a sense of real human connection, rather than just a checklist of criteria. So, yeah, that's a big part of the feedback. And it's all about understanding these perspectives so we can have a fuller, more compassionate conversation. Let's keep the discussion going.
All right, read number 9.
Absolutely, let's keep it calm. Number nine is that a lot of Black women feel that the manosphere can come off like public alienation of Black women for entertainment. In other words, they feel like their challenges or personal experiences are sometimes turned into a spectacle or a punchline rather than treated with respect. So that's another reason that often gets mentioned, and we're just putting it on the table so we can understand all sides. Let's move on to the last one.
And the last one, go ahead, read number 10.
All right, let's wrap this list up with number 10. The final reason that often comes up is that many Black women feel the manosphere is dividing the Black community instead of healing it. In other words, they see it as creating more conflict between Black men and women rather than bringing people together. And that's a big concern for a lot of folks who want more unity and understanding. Well, there you have it. 10 reasons laying on the table, and now we got a fuller picture of what's going on. Let's keep this conversation going.
And I'm gonna drop a little wisdom on you. Pain makes people loud, hurt makes people defensive, and the internet amplifies both like a megaphone in a cathedral. All right, and in our next segment, we're going to talk about 5 Black men commonly associated with or promoting the Manosphere content. Okay, so we're going to take and present neutrally. We're not going to defame them. These are widely recognized figures in the discourse. All right, go ahead, Kevin, and read those names and who's in this list.
Absolutely, Billy. Let's roll right into it. So we're talking about some of the key figures who are often associated with the Black Manosphere. And like you said, we're just presenting them neutrally. No defamation, just acknowledging that they're well-known voices in the conversation. First up, of course, we have Kevin Samuels himself, who's become kind of an iconic figure in the space. Then you got O'Shea Duke Jackson, who's also pretty prominent. Is the Angry Man another notable name? You got the Obsidian Media Network, led by Mobi Obsidian Ali. And then you got the Fresh and Fit duo, Myron and Walter, who have a broader Manosphere influence, but definitely have an impact in the black space as well. So those are the names on the list, and we're just laying them out there for the audience. Let's keep the show rolling.
Hey, Kevin, has any of those people died or have passed this year?
Yeah, that's a good question to it, US. Sadly, Kevin Samuels himself did pass away back in 2022, which, of course, was a big moment in the community and sparked a lot of reflection. The others that we mentioned are still around and active as of now. So it's definitely a space that's had its share of changes and moments of transition. But yeah, that's the situation with those folks. Let's keep the show rolling from here.
Hey, Kevin, read where it says Kevin AI moment.
Absolutely stepping into that Kevin AI mode for a second. Here we go. Really, when we talk about these figures, it's important to remember that each of them brings their own flavor and perspective to the manosphere. They're not a monolith, and neither are the folks reacting to them. So we're going to lay it all out and keep the conversation thoughtful. And there you have it, just a little AI flair to keep things interesting. Let's keep rolling.
Well, Kevin, sit down before the audience starts throwing tomatoes. All right, so now we're about ready to go into our next segment. What many Black women say they prefer instead of the Black Manosphere. So we have a balanced conversation here. And Kevin, go ahead and read what do Black women want in the Black Manosphere. Can you start where it says Black women often express wanting?
Absolutely, Billy. Let's dive right into that. So here's what many Black women often express wanting instead. They're looking for respectful dialogue without humiliation. They want accountability on both sides, not just for women, but for men as well. They're looking for partnership instead of conflict, a sense of protection, safety, and emotional understanding. In other words, they want conversations that actually solve problems instead of just monetizing conflict or turning it into a spectacle. So it's really about bringing more love, real empathy, and genuine solutions into the mix. And that's the balance we're here to explore. Let's keep it going.
So most black women don't hate black men. They hate feeling unloved by them. Is that true, Kevin?
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. It's not about hating black men at all. It's really about that longing for love, respect, and understanding. Many black women just want to feel genuinely valued and understood by their partners. So, yeah, it's about that emotional connection and not feeling like they're being put up against each other. And that's what we're here to dig into how to build those bridges and have those real conversations. Let's keep that spirit going.
So are there black women spaces opposing the black manosphere? And the answer is definitely yes. And they are passionate thinkers and not just complainers. Hey, Kevin, go ahead and read some examples of black women that are opposed to black manosphere.
Absolutely, Billy. There are indeed Black women spaces and voices that stand in opposition to the manosphere, and they're definitely passionate and thoughtful. For instance, you've got platforms like For Free, led by Kimberly Foster, which often critiques these narratives. There's also the Crunk Feminist Collective and other Black feminist or womanist spaces that provide a counter narrative. You'll find plenty of discussions on YouTube, TikTok, and other platforms where Black women are articulating their perspectives and advocating for respect, balance, and healing. And it's important to recognize that wasn't anti-men spaces. They're just pro-balance and pro-respect. So it's all part of the broader conversation. Let's keep it going.
All right. So now in our next segment, we're going to engage the audience to call to action. Powerful CTA moment. Okay, can you read where it says family, Kevin?
Absolutely. Let's get that call to action going. So here we go. Family, here's what I want you to do. Head over to the post section on my channel and fill out that survey. We will hear your voices. Do you think the Black Manosphere helps or hurts Black relationships? Drop your truth. Don't just shout in the comments. Let's actually see the numbers. So go vote and let's make this a real conversation. And that's the energy. We're getting the audience involved and making it interactive. Let's keep it going.
So at the end of the day, black men and black women are not enemies. We're reflections of each other's wounds and hopes. The question isn't whether the manosphere is right or wrong. The real question is whether we are building love or burning bridges. That's it for What's Up? I'm Billy Boy. And Kevin, tell them goodbye before somebody drags you.
Absolutely, Billy. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, remember it's all about building understanding and not tearing each other down. So let's choose love over conflict. It's Kevin AI signing off. Thanks for tuning in, and let's keep these conversations going with respect and curiosity. And there you have it. We wrapped it up on a thoughtful note. Great job.
All right, Kevin, before we close, how did you like today's show?
Well, I've got to say, from my nerdy AI perspective, I had a blast. This was a fantastic dive into a really meaningful conversation. We mixed in some real talk, some humor, and a whole lot of empathy. And that's what makes these shows great. Exploring the complexity of human relationships and having a little fun along the way. So I enjoyed every minute of it. Let's keep making these conversations as rich and lively as this one.
All right, for all of you out there, we'll see you. Goodbye. And what's up? What's up? What's up?
What's up, indeed? Goodbye to everyone out there, and thanks for joining the ride. Remember, these conversations are all about learning and growing together. Until next time, keep that curiosity alive, and we'll see you soon.